SoPHOS Africa was established last year as an organization here in Ethiopia. You might be wondering as to what SoPHOS Africa is and its contribution, not only to Ethiopia, but to the whole continent of Africa. In search for answers to this, I'm joined by Dr. Desta Heliso. He's the founder and executive director of SoPHOS Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Addis Dialogue with the program. I'm Shifarao Lagab. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Now let's start our conversation with SoPHOS Africa, the very organization that you have spearheaded. As far as my knowledge is concerned, SoPHOS means wisdom. And you say that the wise have transformed lives and minds. So I want to ask you this question. Can you just share with our audience a little bit about what SoPHOS Africa is and how you came up with such wonderful ideas? Can you also give us a little bit introduction about yourself?
Just to start by introducing myself, you just mentioned my name. My name is Desta Heliso. I was born and brought up in the southern part of Ethiopia. And then I went to England to study, and I came back and worked in this country for 16 years. And I'm now back in England living with my family. But what is the genesis of SoPHOS Africa? The genesis of SoPHOS Africa is my observation of my society, my country, and Africa. And that observation led me to this organization. The observation was that it was characterized by questions, mainly. Why is Africa the way it is? Why is Ethiopia the way it is? Why has so much progress happened in the West? And why hasn't progress happened in the way that it has happened in the West, in Africa? Why is Ethiopia always struggling with societal, political, moral, and other problems, and also economic problems? I think those questions led me to SoPHOS Africa. To me, society needs to change all the time, but in Africa we change for a period of time. As the English saying goes, we move one step forward and 2 steps or 3 steps backward. Why does that happen in Africa? And the same is happening in Ethiopia. We moved 1 step forward and we have now moved 2 steps backward. Why does that happen? And what role is religion playing? Christianity has been in Ethiopia for almost 1700 years, but the social, economic, political, and moral problems remain. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying that no progress has happened in Ethiopia or no change has happened. Certainly, over the last 30 years, 40 years, quite a lot of changes have happened in Ethiopia, political and economic, but all the changes that happen are often wiped out by different forms of changes. It is that led me to SoPHOS Africa. So you said SoPHOS means wise. SoPHOS is a Greek word for wise, that's very true. And the wise for me are people with transformed minds and lives. And why is Africa the way it is? Why is Ethiopia the way it is? It is because of a shortage of a critical mass of those transformed minds and lives, transformed women and men, those wise people who can transform Ethiopia.
So what is the contribution of SoPHOS Africa for Ethiopia in particular and the whole continent of Africa in general, especially in bringing about people with transformed lives and resilient personalities?
Well, the contribution of SoPHOS Africa has so far been quite limited because it is a new organization. It was established in 2021. First in Ethiopia, we had it registered with the Agency for Civil Society Organizations, and we had it launched in August 2021. And then we established it in the USA and the UK. So it is a new organization, but it started its operations in Ethiopia in 2022. And what we would like to achieve through SoPHOS Africa is to increase the number of people with transformed outlook, values, and attitudes. And when I talk about transformed outlook, it is transformed ways of thinking, transformed ways of doing things, transformed ways of relating to one another, etc. So that is what I mean. And what we would like to do is to create a critical mass of changed women and men who do things differently. So that is what SoPHOS Africa would like to contribute. But I would like to add that there are various mechanisms through which we can do that. SoPHOS Africa has 5 strategic pillars. The first main pillar is economic. That focuses on poverty. The second pillar is political. That focuses on ethnocentrism, I call it. That is ethnic identity. Another pillar focuses on is ethical. It focuses on corruption. Another pillar is religion or religious, and it focuses on religious extremism. And finally, we have an academic pillar. And we have organized these 3 pillars under 3 programmatic areas. And those programmatic areas are called critical understanding, that focuses on research think tank, and culture and value change, that focuses on capacity building and social movement. And the third programmatic area is economic empowerment of women and young people. So we have organized our programs in that way in order to achieve our vision. And our vision, of course, is to see resilient and flourishing societies in Africa through a critical mass of changed women and men. But societal transformation is not very easy to achieve, but societal transformation can be achieved through various mechanisms, and SoPHOS Africa has a mechanism by which it can achieve societal transformation. One model I use is very often people would ask me, how many people do we need in order to change society or in order to change a community? I would say we don't need many people to change society. We need a few, but those few will need to be very key, and they should be people who are truly transformed in the way they think, in the way they do things, and in the way they relate to one another. Those few should be wise. So how many should they be? Well, there are different studies, and some would say 25% would be needed, some would say 10%, some would even go down to 5%. But I've taken the average of that, and if we have 18% of our society that are truly transformed, that have transformed minds and lives, then we can achieve transformation in our society. But you need transformed people. By transformed people, I mean people who view others as equal to them, who view others as their brothers and sisters, and people who reject corruption in our society, who reject ethnic exclusion in our society, who reject intolerance and extremism. So those are people that I say are truly transformed, and people who are at peace with themselves and with others, basically. So how many people do we need? I would say 18%. So that means you only need 180 people who are transformed in your organization. But we can achieve that through a lot of hard work. We need to stimulate those people. We need to nurture them. We need to develop them. We need to help them to move towards transformation. And we need to create change agents in your organization. If we create change agents, those agents will work towards transformation. They will try to make minority opinion a prevailing opinion. So the minority opinion would be, we cannot do anything about corruption. Corruption is prevalent in Ethiopia, so we cannot reverse this trend. But the change agents would say, yes, we can reverse this trend.
I know that you're also an author, and in your book that you authored entitled Hope for Ethiopia, you argue that for a society to change, there must be people with transformed lives and minds. So is this the reason, the very reason that Africa is not changed to that level that's expected?
Yeah, we are improving, we are growing, and I think in Ethiopia, the middle class is growing, the economy is growing. Ethiopia is a different country. Of course, the population is also growing. The poverty is growing. The rich are growing, but they're very small, small minority. So there are improvements, but there is a lot that needs to change in Ethiopia. And that change starts with our thinking, with our mindset, with the way we approach things, the way we look at things, and the way we do things, and the way we relate to one another. So what kind of attitude do we have towards our country, our people, and the way things should be done in our country? I think that mindset transformation is extremely important in Ethiopia. But along with that, value transformation is very important as well. So if we undermine our values, the values on which our society is built, then our society will gradually deteriorate or collapse even, and all the societal structures would be in trouble. So we need to focus on value transformation and the culture transformation. But I think in my book, in Hope for Ethiopia, I also focus on relational transformation. Our relationships should be transformed. Over the last 30 years, our relationships have been damaged in many ways through our political arrangements, political ideology, and also through our religious arrangements as well. So all that needs to change. The way we relate to one another, the way we relate to ourselves, and the way we relate to the creation as well, the environment. All that needs to change.
Wow, beautifully put, Dr. Desta. Now let's turn our attention to the upcoming national dialogue that Ethiopia is set to hold vis-a-vis SoPHOS Africa. So the founder of SoPHOS Africa, what are some of the essence that the upcoming national dialogue should have for best or for maximum benefits?
Well, in my book, I discuss 8 things. If I may tell you that's my vision for flourishing Ethiopia. So the first one is reconditioned social capital. I hope this National Dialogue Commission will achieve something in relation to reconditioned social capital. Our relationships, as I said, have been affected. Our trust and trustworthiness, kind of a culture of trust and trustworthiness, has been undermined. So I hope that this commission will achieve something in connection with that. And renewed perspective on religion as well. So the way we think about or we look at religions, non-Talmudic Judaism, Islam, Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Christianity, Catholic Christianity, Protestant Christianity, etc., all the way we look at those religions and their relationships with one another will need to be renewed, I would say. And I think when we think about religion, we have to take into account the geopolitics as well, the geopolitical dynamics. So I think that is one area we need to have renewed perspective. And the third one is reformed stance on gender. The way women are treated in Ethiopia will require another new thinking, I would say. So unless women have an appropriate place in society, unless they're regarded as equal with men, as those human beings that have equal worth, then Ethiopia will continue to be a backward country. So we need to have a reformed stance on gender and revolutionized education and restored relationships and revitalized moral agents and reconsidered identity and redesigned statecraft.
As you know, Ethiopia is endowed with its age-old arbitration system. So how should the upcoming national dialogue capitalize on such age-old tradition of solving conflicts?
The National Dialogue Commission will need to try to understand how conflicts are resolved, how issues are settled in different cultures within Ethiopia. Ethiopia has diverse cultural practices in diverse ethnic groups, so they need to try to understand how conflicts are resolved in those contexts. And secondly, they need to take into account religious ideas for conflict resolutions. But there are also modern ways of resolving conflicts as well, kind of scientific methods of resolving conflicts. I know that the National Dialogue Commission is not a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, as was the case in South Africa. It is a different kind of commission. But still, there are quite a lot of issues that require that this National Dialogue Commission would need to use, or that require using the kind of criteria that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission used in South Africa. So there is quite a lot that we can learn from them. There is a lot we can learn from other countries as well. But our issues are political, geographical, administrative in terms of administrative arrangements, and so on. And of course, identity politics is a big issue, and our constitution is a big issue. All these will need to be dealt with in a manner that is balanced, that is considered, and I think, I would say, deep and scientific. So I hope and pray that the National Dialogue Commission will make a significant contribution. But I would like to say a word about SoPHOS Africa's role in all this. We would like SoPHOS Africa to play a role in this. So one beginning point which we are thinking about at the moment is how religion can play a role in education. That is one area in which we would like to make a contribution. We are going to hold a workshop tomorrow. But another area is how can we, as diverse ethnic groups, live in peace together with one another. So we would like to make a contribution in that area as well. And of course, as you know, SoPHOS Africa exists to fight against what I call societal ills, factors that contribute to poverty in our country. The number one factor that contributes to poverty in Ethiopia is corruption. So we would like to fight against corruption, and we would like to see a corruption-free, at least a country that is free from a culture of corruption in the coming years.
In this regard, what roles should be played by Ethiopians from all walks of life in particular, and the elites, Ethiopian elites in general, for maximum benefit?
The Ethiopian elites will need to play a role in terms of uniting our country, uniting our people. The elites have played a major role in terms of dividing us, in terms of setting us as enemies against each other. Instead, they can develop ideas that can bring about peace in our country. I think this notion of forgiveness and reconciliation and love, which has been preached even by the government, are important notions, and the Ethiopian intellectuals will need to take all those into account. And I think when the Ethiopian intellectuals talk about politics, identity politics, and other types of politics, they forget about the moral ecology of our society. Our society, whether we like it or not, has been in trouble in terms of morality, and there is moral decadence in segments of society, in large segments of society. So we need to focus on those aspects as well. And intellectuals, Ethiopian elites, when they focus on just political ideas that divide our nation, they will destroy it eventually. So I'm hopeful that they will come to their senses and they will develop ideas that will unite us.
As the founder and executive director of SoPHOS Africa, with SoPHOS Africa, with the ideology, philosophy of SoPHOS Africa properly implemented, where do you see Ethiopia and Africa in 10 to 20 years' time?
In some 10 years' time and 20 years' time, I would like to see Ethiopia go up in the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. At the moment, Ethiopia is 87th out of 187 countries. I would like Ethiopia to be 20th in 10 years' time, or even 5 years' time. You know, I'm a dreamer, I'm hopeful, so I would like to see a culture of corruption dealt with in Ethiopia. I would like to see an Ethiopia that is free from a culture of corruption, that is. So that is one thing. That's one of my dreams. Another dream is in Ethiopia, I'd like to see, I think you know the term meritocracy. Everyone is treated according to merit, according to their gifts and abilities, rather than according to where they were born, which ethnic group they come from, etc. So that is what I would like to see. That means that we are all sisters and brothers. We treat each other as sisters and brothers. And we live anywhere we choose, and we speak any language we choose. We can learn several languages, or we can just speak one language. So we have to be allowed to live in the way we want as free human beings in Ethiopia, and I would like to see that in 10 years' time.
Dr. Desta Heliso, the founder and executive director of SoPHOS Africa. Thank you so much for your wonderful ideas and for your brilliant vision that you are spearheading. And let's hope the best is yet to come.
Thank you so much, and I'm very hopeful. Ethiopia is a young nation, and there is a a lot of good that is to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of today's program, and thank you for being with us.